What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tsunami Speaks with your host, Tsunami Jones. That's right, I did change the name to make it easier for everybody as well as myself so we can make this channel easier to find for everybody. That said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and that'll also help grow this channel going forward. So appreciate you guys' help and like the feedback every week that I get. So now we're moving on to week 2. We're leaving behind week 1. We're gonna still acknowledge it and, draw allusions to it and all that good stuff, but we're moving on as a fan base, okay? At least that's what I'm doing on this channel. So let's start off with the injury report. As for the New York Jets, we have CJ Uzama, who is doubtful. Since it's a hamstring, he's probably not going to play tomorrow. Hamstrings take a while and they can go on for weeks, months. So I hope it's not like that. And I believe CJ had a hamstring issue during training camp and mini camp. Don't hold me to that. It's probably more so mini camp than training camp, but that stuff can linger. So that's something to keep an eye on as the season goes on. In the questionable side of things, we got Jordan Whitehead. This is good news because Jordan Whitehead, they earlier this week, I believe Salah said something on the lines of he might be week to week. I think Salah's a little gun shy now when it comes to his predictions with injuries due to what happened with Mackay, due to what happened with Zach. So I don't think he's lying to us. I just think he's just gun shy at this point. Doesn't want to tell, isn't sure what to believe when it comes to this stuff. But anyway, this is great news that he's been moved to questionable. As of Friday, I believe he said he's going to give it a go. So that's good news. He practiced this week. So I'm hopeful on that front. George Fant is also listed as questionable with a knee. He was listed that way last week, so no major change there. I just hope whatever he's got going on with his knee continues to get better and progress in a positive way and not a negative way. So we have that. John Franklin Myers is a toe issue. Not sure about a lot of that. I think that questionable is actually true for him as opposed to Whitehead and Fant, who are going to play. Braden Mann is also listed as questionable with his back issue. I think that's going to be a 50-50 shot. I'm not sure, but at least we know that the injury was why he had such a poor showing last week. So, if he does have a back issue, I have had a back issue before. All the folks on my dad's side of the family all have back issues here and there. So, if it that can linger. So, I think the best play here is to rest a week and let the kid that we signed, I believe his name is Tai Long. I would like him to sign, or not to sign, but for him to play, and we can move forward from there. Even if it has to, be out for a couple of weeks, you don't mess with a back can get worse very easily. We'll see what happens. On the Cleveland Browns side, they have a lot less injuries than we do. Surprise, surprise. Chris Hubbard is out, and then they have Jack Conklin, who is questionable, and that's their starting right tackle. So that's going to be a hit to their offensive line if Jack Conklin doesn't play. So advantage Jets on that front. Um, but we'll see what ends up happening, whether Conklin is a true questionable or just, or is a questionable like Fant is for us. So we'll see what ends up happening with him and with them in general. One other piece of news in regards to that, the Jets elevated Kenny Yeboah and Grant Hermans off the practice squad. I'm thinking they're using them. Well, obviously we know Hermans is a offensive lineman, a backup, a backup's backup, some might say. But that said, I think we're going to use him just as an extra blocker, probably on some sets. Kenny Yeboah might be a better blocker than Cager was last week. We'll see. I think that might be why. I'm not sure who would be the better blocker between the two of them, just guessing on that. But I'm thinking that's why Yeboah is in there. Or maybe they want Yeboah in to block for when Cager is out there for more pass catching sets for him. We'll see. But I think it's fairly obvious as to why they brought Yeboah on with CJ being doubtful for tomorrow. So here are my keys to the win for this week. We have to limit turnovers. That's probably the number one on my list here. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot anymore. We had 2 turnovers last week, and then we had those drops. So it felt like 4 turnovers really because they killed drives. And we could have, secured some points early. And that's what the team really needed, was to get some points early and just really get that confidence going against a team like the Ravens. But again, we've moved on to week 2. So with that said, Big key for us is to limit those turnovers and drops. We do that, we're going to be in a much better spot to hang with a team like the Browns. Second key that might not be talked about too much would be special teams. Between our punting and our kicking last week, we were not efficient. We were not doing what we needed to do. We were getting poor starts to our drives, and we don't need that. That's no shot at Braxton Berrios either in regards to having those short fields or long fields in this case. So that said, we need their A game. We need Greg Zuerlein when he does get the opportunity to kick the ball. We need kicks, whether they're 50-footers, 40-foot, I don't 30. We need to make them, and we need to make those extra points. So when we get those opportunities, because I think points are going to be hard to come by in this game, so those kicks are going to be very important. And of course, we need our punter to do a good job on that end. Nice long punts, not necessarily out of bounds. Um, so hopefully we might get Ty Long, like I kind of mentioned earlier, kind of due to Man's injury. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I think we're gonna have a bounce back game from our special teams anyway. We can do better than that. And I know we can, so we will. Um, Obvious key to the game for some, but I have to say it anyway. We have to continue to stop the run. We all know at this point the Browns are a two-headed monster led by Chubb and Hunt, and both of them played pretty well last week. They actually had 217 yards rushing against the Panthers, who have a solid defense. They're not bad defensively. Um, Conversely, when we played the Browns last week, we held them to 63 yards rushing. Now, I'm going to be realistic. I do not expect us to do that same thing again. That would be pretty remarkable. And considering the year before, we were not good at stopping the run. So I'm going to see, I would say a little regression to the mean is probably in order. But my goal for the Jets is to hold them to 100 yards rushing. Don't let Chubb get loose. Don't let Hunt go off. And that's going to put us in a much better situation. I know it's easier said than done, but we saw some good stuff from our defense between Whitehead stuffing out runs, between Quinnen playing the run very well. Excuse me, guys, um, and things of that nature. Our defensive line looked pretty stout, so hoping for more of the same. It probably won't be the same exact playbook since they have a different running style than the Ravens do. They're just a different team overall. They're more in your face. So that being said, I still think that we can. I think if we hold them to 100, that's a win to me. I mean, you hold them to 100 yards, you have 0 turnovers, the kickers make the kicks. Zerline makes his kicks, let's say. To me, that's a W. But we got a couple other keys here that I have to mention. And of course, some of these everybody's going to think of, but this one's a pretty obvious one as well. Our offensive line has to hold up for Flacco. I said last week that I think that the way Flacco slash the offense played was twofold. Part of it was Flacco not speeding up his internal clock. The other part of it was the offensive line had a moribund day. It was a rough day for them between Lake and Tomlinson and George Fant. He had a down week, that left hand side. They were getting in his face. So that said, I think I think we can only get better from there, but that's still something that we're going to need to see better. I think we need to see like a B plus A game from our offensive line because we know what we have to protect Flacco from. This is one of the best pass rushes in the NFL with Miles Garrett. He's a beast. He might be the best pass rusher in the NFL. It's a tough between him and TJ Watt, I don't know. But that said, we're gonna have a tall task with that. But that's another key. And here's my last key. It's gonna be offensive creativity. Mike LaFleur last year and the back half of the season really upped his creativity. between the reverses we were seeing, end arounds. We had some plays that other teams even stole from us, used in games last year because Mike LaFleur was doing a great job. Now, part of it was because we had so many injuries. I guess he felt like he had to be more creative. Well, we may not have those injuries, but we can use our playmakers for those, advanced plays and things like that. I don't care what you guys got to do, but I definitely want us to put the ball in our playmakers' hands. Barrios is great on reverses. Moore is great on reverses, end arounds, all that good stuff. Jet sweeps. Let's bring that all out. Last year, and I would say even Wilson. I mean, he's that kind of player. He is a playmaker. Put the ball in the kid's hands. I think he'll succeed. Moving on. So I have players to watch for this week. I'm going to say Max Mitchell. So I hope we don't see him at all. Meaning, I don't want to see any penalties from the kid. Not that he had any last week. I'm not saying he did. But I don't, if he can just be invisible next tomorrow, that means he had a great day. And so that's basically my key there. We all know the Browns have a great defensive line. I just brought it up a second ago, so I won't reiterate, but they're going to try and take advantage of, you know, Max Mitchell and players like and in our offensive line as a whole, but especially him. We just need him to hold up and we'll be in a good spot. Laken Tomlinson kind of goes with Max Mitchell, even though he's not a young player and not inexperienced. But that being said, he was the worst graded offensive lineman last week for the team. He is a Pro Bowl guard. He is fantastic as a player. I am hoping that last week was a one-off just due to the inexperience of working with George Fant after being moved around and all that good stuff. They say offensive linemen get better as the season goes on. They normally start off a little rough. Not that rough as bad as last week, but they normally start off a little disheveled in the beginning and they start getting better as the continuity and the chemistry builds. So that said, I'm hoping for a step up from my guy. I want to see better from him, and I know he has better in him. Um, he had 8 pressures allowed last week. That cannot happen again. That cannot happen again. So I'm looking at you, Lake and Tomlinson, but I'm not worried about you. I know you're going to have a bounce back game. Another player to watch for me is going to be Garrett Wilson. We all heard that he had only 6 snaps in the first half. Mind you, he finished out with like 40 something snaps at the end of the game, but the game was very close in the first half. So you think about all those opportunities he could have been out there to help push push the score up, to help boost the score, to help just make plays, to help drives go longer and all that good stuff. I know he's a rookie. Michael LaFleur mentioned something along the lines of he needs to know every position on the wide receiving core, the X, Y to Z, all that good stuff. That said, you still got to get your playmaker involved. We have Elijah Moore. He's our best wide receiver, but Garrett Wilson is equally talented as him. Um, I'm not saying have him in there every snap. I understand Corey Davis needs to be involved. He's a great blocker. I think that's something that's undervalued on the team because people don't think about why wide receivers a great blocker, but it's helpful, especially when we're going against a team like the Browns or a team like the Ravens when we were last week. So, but I need Corey Davis also to catch balls. So that said, we know Wilson will be able to do that and make those explosive plays that we want, like we saw week 1 with that hell of a play that he made. So that said, I think that Wilson's going to get more targets, especially not just targets, but snaps, especially kind of after it's been called out by the media and the fans. We spoke up. We were not happy. I don't think the fans necessarily change game plans, but I think that the fact that it was called out and that the media did a good job of asking, hey, why? Explain this. Like, what's the problem? Especially after kind of what happened with Denzel Mims. It just, LaFleur's a little on the hot seat. Not saying he's going anywhere, but I'm hoping he gets more snaps this week. Very important game. Let's get that happening. And I think he's going to surprise us also because I don't know if Elijah Moore is going to be called upon as much as far as targets go, just because he's going to have Denzel Ward on him. Denzel Ward is a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. Damn good. I'm not saying that he's going to take Elijah Moore out of the game. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. So in that case, let's go to your best number 2 wide receiver. Let's go to Corey Davis. Let's go to Garrett Mims. Wow, Garrett Wilson. Let's go to him. So I'm expecting some numbers. I think he had 52 yards, 4 catches last week. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 6 catches, 7 catches this week. Let's see what happens there. And my last Jets player that I'm going to be watching this week is going to be Conklin. Conklin wasn't involved as much in week 1, much to my surprise. If you guys remember during the preseason, training camp, mini camp, Conklin was the talk of the town. He was getting the ball a ton. He got an established great chemistry with Zach and seemingly had some chemistry with Joe Flacco as well. I saw some great catches by him. Um, he's athletic. He runs great routes for a tight end. I think we're gonna use him more. Um, and I think he wants some redemption after that near fumble and all of well, it was a fumble and then Garrett Wilson got it and all that, but that's key there. Big key. So I think he's gonna be better. I'm not predicting 120 yards and a touchdown or anything, but I think he's someone to watch this week. I think he's gonna surprise some people that kind of forgot about my guy. We'll see what Conklin does. Honorable mention, by the way, for players to watch on the Jets is this guy, Breece Hall. I think he's gonna have a good game and surprise some people. The thing about Breece that I really like is he has that breakaway speed for a back. So he can get 5 carries and still have a 50-yarder in there, or 30-yarder, 20-yarder, whatever. Just something that an explosive, as they say. And that changes the game. You need a player like that in there. He had a fumble last week. It broke his heart if you watch his interview after the game. So I think he wants to get in there and get busy. So that's my honorable mention. Um, as far as Jets players to watch. As for the Browns, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. This is a Jets channel. So that said, Miles Garrett. I don't really have to say a lot there. We already know. We already know he's a great pass rusher. And I'm sure the way he's coming into this game and looking at it, he looks at our offensive line and he goes, looks like we're gonna be having a snack this week. Maybe a dinner, a main course. I don't know. But I think he's excited, maybe hungry, they may say, to go and get to our offensive line. So depending on how much damage he's able to do, is going to be a big factor as to what the Jets are able to do. Hopefully he doesn't kill us on third and longs. I'm hoping we can limit those third and longs anyway so that we can run the ball, third and short. Let's get a 3rd and 2 where we can get Breece Hall or Michael Carter to, bang that out and then continue the drive. That's what we're hoping for here. It's what my key is. But he's a player to watch for sure, Myles Garrett. Hunt and Chubb. Again, kind of obvious, but I got to say it. They're one of the best running back tandems in the NFL, if not the best. And definitely an argument to be made. Hopefully the Jets, by the end of the season, people will be saying that about our boys. That said, though, if they have another game like last week, again, they had 217 yards rushing, not specifically just those two. There were other rushes in there as well by like Schwartz and they had another player as well do like a reverse or something like that. But still, 217 yards is 217 yards. Chubb 8 last week. And Hunt got them together in the red zone. Okay, so you get the point here. If they play like last week, we'll be in for a very long Sunday. I want a short Sunday. I think that, again, if we hold them to 100 yards, that's what our goal is, but we're going to be watching them. So box score, if we're going to be seeing what they're able to bring to the table and whether the Jets are able to stop them because they had a heck of a performance. My last Browns player to watch is David Njoku. He didn't perform that well for the Browns last week. He had 1 target, 1 catch. And with that said, I think for 7 yards as well. So I know hearing that, you're like, oh, what are you worried about him for? Well, being realistic here, the Jets historically have had a difficult time defending the tight end. Njoku still kind of presents an athletic tight end who can catch the ball and do some nasty things with it if he's involved in the offense and isn't primarily blocking. If he goes off, To me, that's a really long Sunday. Hoping they limit him to what he did last week for them, or just in general, I would like to see him limited to 30 or 40 yards. We'll see what happens. He's just going to be a key for them. I would not be surprised if they game plan him. It's a game plan to feature him alongside Hunt and Chubb. All right, so most important part of the show here, my prediction for the game. I think the Jets are going to come out inspired. After the drubbing we had last week, the disappointment, you could see it in the players' interviews, in their faces. I mean, Carter said it felt like we lost the Super Bowl. I think they just know that the fans were really disheartened, and so I think they're gonna come out there and they're gonna shock everybody. I'm not gonna say I predict us to score on the first drive, but I definitely predict them to score in the first quarter. I'm thinking an early touchdown. I'm thinking special teams touchdown by Braxton Berrios. I could easily see that, or at least a short field in which we score quickly, and get the Browns on their heels, most importantly. So that said, after that, I think it's still going to be a very low scoring game. Those are two great defenses going against each other against two backup quarterbacks. Let's keep it real. So, of course, I don't expect a bunch of points there. It's not realistic. So I'm thinking we win 21-17. So the Jets cover. And of course, we win the game in that, and we shock the NFL. I don't think there's an analyst that has predicted the Jets to win. From what I've seen on Twitter and ESPN, they're not predicting us to win. It's the time when a team that's a quote unquote bad team shocks the world, shocks the NFL. Let's be that bad team that does that and go 1-1 in September. How about that? Let's give us some hope. Let's get some hope. I believe in the Jets to win this week, but let's see it happen. All right. That said, I did have one more thing I'm going to be introducing to you guys as a segment, so to speak. I'm not going to go super in depth here. I have to give you a big disclaimer before I say anything. I am an amateur gambler. Amateur. Do not necessarily use my bets or my propositions if it were for as gospel. Okay? This is just what I like to do. I'm enjoying, using your FanDuels, your DraftKings, and things like that. So here's what I did for the week so far. I'm probably going to put a few more in tomorrow, depending on some injury reports and stuff like that. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But so far, I have the Jets to cover. We were minus. They were giving us 6.5 points. I couldn't pass that up. I just couldn't. I saw that, I believe, Sunday night or Monday morning, one of those, and I bid on it very quickly. I just don't see the Browns beating. First of all, I don't see them beating us outright. But I mean, it could happen. I don't see them beating us outright. But especially by a touchdown. No way. No. But we'll see. Y'all can get me in the comments if I'm wrong about tomorrow. But feeling decent about it. Feeling pretty good about it. We'll see. All right. So anyway, Jets to cover, and then I bet the under for the matchup on total points. Like I said earlier, I don't see either team scoring a ton. These are not offenses that score 40 points, 50 points, not with two backup quarterbacks in there, not against two stellar defenses, two incredible defenses. That's right. I think the Jets have an incredible defense. I said it. I mean it. Watch. That said, sorry. Not a homer, I swear. Moving off that though, the next bet I took was the Patriots money line. As far as I'm concerned, and I don't like the Patriots, obviously. I hate them just as much as any other Jets fan, probably more. I'm sick of them. And I'm enjoying the fall that we seem to be watching at the moment. That said, though, I took the Patriots money line against the Steelers. I mean, the big key for me is Bill Belichick's record head to head against him. He eats. I know it's different now that Brady's not on the team, but Belichick is still a hell of a coach. Still is, even with that weird offense thing that they're trying to do with the 2 defensive with Joe Judge and, Patricia. We'll see. We'll see on that. But I predict this to be a low-scoring game. I mean, a big key here is the Steelers don't have TJ Watt. He is everything to that defense. Everything. So don't discount that. That's a big deal. Um, and then I know that, Najee Harris, he's battling a Liz Frank injury. Normally, when people have a Liz Frank, they're out. I don't know how he's still playing. Kudos to the homie. I'm a big fan of Najee Harris. He's awesome as a person, but I just don't see him beating Bill Belichick. Nah, I don't see it. I don't see Trubisky doing it. It's just, and then the Patriots would go 0-2. I think there's so much for riding on the Patriots to win this week that I have to go this way. Could be wrong. Again, amateur gambler. We'll see what happens, but these are 2 of my predictions. And the last one I have, and I think what I'm gonna do each week, guys, is do 3. 3 bets that I feel fairly good about or great about even. We'll see. My 3rd one is I took the Panthers to cover. I know there's probably some Giants fans that are watching this video. Do not be mad at me. This is just what I see happening. I feel like the Giants used a lot of their emotional bandwidth in that last game, getting that win. And then the fact that they're coming home, for their home opener, I could just see it being a letdown just a bit after coming off that first win. And that's the emotional side of it, the mental side of it for me. But here's the real key. They have a bajillion injuries too. I know Ojulari was out last game. I know Thibodeau was out last game, and I know that your first thought would be like, "Well, we won last one when we didn't have those 2." I understand that. But then you got now Wandale Robinson, I believe, is out, and a few other injuries that I saw. So I just don't feel good about betting them to win with all those injuries involved. I mean, it's tough to overcome a lot of them, especially if you're not a team with a fantastic quarterback. That's really what it comes down to. So, I believe it was 1.5 points, that I saw for the Panthers. So it's not a ton of points. So it doesn't mean that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong here, but I feel pretty good about this bet. I think I feel better about this one than I do about the Patriots one. I'm just keeping it real for you guys. But with that said, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you can, if you don't mind. I appreciate it to help us grow this channel and see where it takes us. That said, if you liked the video, I appreciate it. If you didn't like it, let me know why. But most importantly, guys, let's go Jets. Y'all have a good night.